Today on Missing Live, the young mum who went out to the shops, Natalie Putt, hasn't been seen since.
That was 5 years ago, but Natalie's family haven't given up hope of finding her.
Today, could you hold the key to discovering where she is? Hello, good morning. You're watching Missing Live. This morning, two families desperately need your help.
Every week in Britain, around 4,000 people are reported missing. Today, we're looking at a couple of especially difficult cases. Their family and the police have so far got nowhere in their searches, so now it's down to you.
So, if you think you can help with any of the cases shown on the programme, we need you to call us. The police and the charity Missing People are with us live all morning. The number to call is on your screen right now. It's 0500 700 700. Calls from landlines are free, but mobile rates can vary quite a bit.
We began a new series of Missing Live yesterday, and over 100 of you have already called in. Terry is here once again from Missing People. Terry, tell us about that fantastic response yesterday then.
Well, we were really pleased actually because we had over 100 calls during the programme and it resulted in around about 20 sightings of Mary.
And she's the elderly lady, May Ferns, who was 89 today.
That's
which
right.
Is brilliant.
From Edinburgh, we had calls citing her all across the country, but it's really positive. We can pass that to police and they will obviously look into that information.
Anything else?
A few calls on Parvinder, but not as many as we were hoping, so...
Excellent, Terry. Well, hopefully it'll give us more about those cases later on today. Thank you. And we'll be keeping you up to date with developments on all of these cases throughout today's programme. Don't forget, the number to call if you have any information that you think might be helpful is 0500 700 700. And you can email us too. The address for that is missing.live@bbc.co.uk.
Later on in the programme, the family man who slipped out early one morning last July, leaving his keys, his money and his mobile. No one saw Paul Reed go and no one knows where he went. Perhaps you have some information that would help. That full story later on in the programme.
First, though, a young woman who's disappeared, leaving behind a baby and a very worried family. When Rebecca married John 8 years ago, Natalie, her younger sister, was her chief bridesmaid.
She certainly had a little bit of a sparkle. There was something about her.
Once the wedding itself was over and we got to the reception, she kind of showed us the true Natalie, and she was the life and soul of the party.
But just 2 years later, in 2003, Natalie Putt went missing. She was just 17. The sisters were born in South Wales. Rebecca was 9 when Natalie was born.
She was one of these children that you just couldn't help laugh at. She was cheeky, she was into everything, it's just how she was.
When their baby sister Laurie arrived, they loved looking after her. But soon after, in 1996, their mum Jennifer died. Natalie moved to Wolverhampton to live with her dad. Her sisters stayed in Wales.
Natalie was full of life, just played, fun, just lovely to watch.
Natalie would often go back to visit her sisters.
She'd text me saying, oh yeah, I'm coming down for the day, you're around. I'd go down to the local park and meet her, and I looked up to her so much because I thought that she was absolutely beautiful and I just wanted to be like her.
But as a teenager, Natalie started rebelling.
She was climbing out windows, she was smoking, she was causing trouble, that sort of thing.
We used to argue, but we'd argue over the stupidest things. She's stubborn, very, very stubborn. If she wants to do something, she'll do it.
When she was 16, Natalie told her family she was expecting a baby.
The moment she found out she was pregnant, it stopped. The day that pregnancy test went positive, it stopped. There was nothing. There was no smoking, there was no drinking, there was no argy-bargy with anyone, there There was no troublemaking, there was nothing. It stopped. Honestly, the change, it was like two different people. I think she felt whole.
Her baby son Reese was born in June 2003. A month later, Natalie's sisters travelled to the Midlands to spend the day with her.
She looked so happy, just really looked like this was, I know this is what she was like almost waiting for.
She just glowed. She just looked complete, like, I don't know, like she'd finally found her purpose in life.
That summer day 6 years ago was the last time the sisters would see each other. Just a month later, Natalie was at home one morning. She popped out.
My partner was home, she was in the garden, and Natalie apparently said that she was going up the shop to get cigarettes. That's the last we ever saw her.
Coming up, Natalie doesn't come home and the search for her begins.
Time went on, knowing that she'd left all her personal possessions here, no money. That's basically when we raised the alarm.
Will a nationwide media campaign help the investigation? Will they find her?
So, a young woman goes to the shops and leaves her baby behind. If you know where Natalie might be, please call us now. The number's on your screen. It's 0500 700 700, and we'll have more of that story later in the programme.
Well, we now have an urgent case that really needs the help of a mother and a daughter who've gone missing from South Cerney in the Cotswolds. Jude Richmond is 41 with blonde hair, and her 9-year-old daughter Millie has cerebral palsy. Jude works as a florist and is described as being in a vulnerable state of mind. Now, they were reported missing by a neighbour. They were last seen at their home at 6:30 on Sunday evening.
Joining us now on the phone is Inspector Owen Hughes from Gloucestershire Police. Good morning. They've left the... Good morning, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
This is quite worrying, isn't it? Especially about Millie.
Yes, it is.
So what has she taken with her then?
Well,
we understand that the mobility scooter, for one, is left at home.
yes. I mean, Jude was last seen by a family friend at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday.
Right.
And obviously we're very concerned for her and her daughter's welfare.
So what searches have been made so far then?
Well, we've searched the obviously the home address and the surrounding area, and we have a specialist search advisor on the ground searching the surrounding area around the home.
Is there any potential leads anywhere else in the UK?
There are behind-the-scenes inquiries that we're doing, and we've had calls from the public providing us with information about Jude's movements prior to her disappearance, and those inquiries are currently ongoing.
OK, well, we've got the nice, strong picture of both of them, and I really hope it leads to some positive phone calls. So thanks for joining us. And if you have any information at all, then please call Missing People on the number you see on your screen now.
Now, Paul Reed was always up for a laugh, and he'd just enjoyed an evening in the pub, which made his disappearance the next morning all the more puzzling. This farm in Devon is one of Paul Reed's favourite places. He loves nothing better than visiting his stepdaughter and her family here.
He was really close to the children. They absolutely adored him. It was, what's Papa doing? Is Papa coming down? Are we going to do this with Papa? The kids just would follow him around like little shadows. They were just everywhere with him. You know, even in the house, Paul would sit down, but you would never ever find him sitting alone. There was always one of the children with him.
Paul and his wife Caroline often make the journey from their home in Surrey to see Louise and her family. If there's a joke to be played, Paul is always at the centre of it.
And what about the time we come down picking turkeys? we was plucking turkeys. We come out of the turkey house and we'd be covered in feathers all stuck to our hats and our scarves, and it was excellent fun, really good. I met Paul 17 years ago through a friend, and we hit it off almost from day one that we met each other. And then 2.5 years later, we married. We have 4 children of my previous marriage, but Paul was a fantastic stepfather. Absolutely doted on the children, and when he's with the children, he's probably the biggest child.
The couple lived in Headley Down on the Surrey-Hampshire border. And for the past 20 years, Paul has worked as a builder for his best friend's family business.
Paul is quite laid back, a lot of fun to work with, always the joker. He would put foam in your shoes if you left them laying around. He would hang pegs on you. He'd paint your tools, so when you picked your tools up, you had paint all over you. All sorts of stupid things really he used to do.
Paul has always been part of Tim's family.
Paul's just been around for as long as I can remember, really. I was brought up living at home with Paul coming around to start work in the morning, so he's just sort of back from way back. I can just remember him being around.
Paul has never taken life too seriously, simply enjoying his family, friends and the outdoors. But recently, he's had a lot to cope with.
Paul was going through a very, very difficult period. He'd actually lost his brother last July. And more or less at the same time, his mum went into a home because she has Alzheimer's, and we'd cared for her for many, many years. It had become a time when it was a strain, and so she went into a home.
Just a year ago, the pressures on Paul and Caroline's marriage got too much for them.
Last March, we separated. We stayed under the same roof, which was also another strain for him.
He wasn't his usual self. I mean, he was always cheeky Charlie. He was always just happy, and he'd lost his sparkle.
But living in the same house while being separated was just too difficult. By July last year, Paul decided he had to move out.
He was having troubles with his marriage, and he rang me at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and he said, "Can I come and stay with you? I need to get out of home. The pressure's too much, and can I come and stay?" I said that wasn't a problem. When I got that phone call from Paul, I was working with my dad at the time.
At that point I said to Aaron, well, he's going to be on his own, you know, I don't want him sitting on his own. I'll come up tonight and we'll go out for a drink.
That evening, Paul offloaded his troubles on his oldest friend.
We were having a chat, and that's when Paul told me that he had a few financial problems with his mother's home and 1 or 2 things. I said, well, look, we'll sort all this out next week, and he seemed quite happy about that. We left, and on the way home he said, thanks for a great evening, and he seemed quite happy at that point.
Paul seemed brighter after talking things through, and that night he was staying at Tim's son's house.
In the morning, when I got up about 7:30, there was no sign of Paul around the house. His bedroom door was then wide open, and when I came downstairs, he had left his van key and my house key on the corner of my dining room table.
Coming up, Surrey police sweep all the surrounding countryside. And a chance meeting 100 miles away in Devon. Could it be Paul? Yes, there is a fascinating development in that search later on in the programme. Meanwhile, if you think you may have seen Paul, please pick up the phone and call missing people. The number is on your screen. It's 0500 700 700. And remember as well, Surrey and Devon are the areas that he knows best. There is a team standing by to take your calls.
Bereavement, relationship troubles and money worries, they may well have been a factor in Paul's disappearance, but there is help available. If you're worried about the mental well-being of someone close to you, then there's a BBC website that might be able to help. Go to bbc.co.uk/headroom.
Still to come this morning on Missing Live.
What's happened to Natalie Putt? A young mum goes missing from home, leaving her baby, and her own dad is distraught over her disappearance.
You can try to put it out of your mind, but it doesn't go.
And how on earth could this, it's a dance mat, reunite two sisters who'd lost contact for more than 20 years? An extraordinary coincidence later here on Missing Live.
Really is. That's coming up in a moment. If you recognise any of the people that we're trying to find today, missing people are here with us all morning, taking your calls on 0500 700 700. Terry's with us from Missing People today, so tell us about this response been getting on the phones then.
Well, really positive regarding Mary, as we mentioned. About 20 sightings for her we've passed through to police, so that's very encouraging. That's the lady with the walking stick
Yeah, the
in
elderly
Edinburgh.
lady, so that's brilliant news, isn't it?
Really
and then
positive.
I understand we got some good stuff, not as many calls, but good stuff on Pavinda.
Very few on Pavinda, but we did have a very, very positive detail call that we put from the police with a lot of detail regarding approximately 2 weeks ago. There was a good sighting of him on a bus in Brighton, so we've got a lot of detail.
And the police are especially encouraged by that, aren't they?
They really
They're going to
are.
go down and follow that up as
They
we
are.
speak.
They're going to look at
hopefully
CCTV footage.
We're going to get some good news on that one. Brilliant, Terry. Thank you very much.
Natalie Putt had just had a baby boy, so why would she leave him behind when she went missing from her home in Wolverhampton 5 years ago?
Natalie Putt was just 17 when she disappeared 6 years ago. She was born in South Wales and she has two sisters.
She was cheeky, she was into everything. It's just how she was.
But when their mum died, Natalie moved to Wolverhampton to live with her dad. As a teenager, she rebelled. She got pregnant when she was 16. Having a baby changed her.
She obviously had to grow up and realise that she had responsibility.
Things seemed to be going well for Natalie. She loved being a mum. On the morning of September the 1st, 2003, Natalie's in the house with the baby and her dad's girlfriend. She pops out to the shops, but Natalie doesn't come home.
I just think she'd gone shopping, met her friends and gone shopping. Time went on, no sign of her, and knowing that she'd left all her personal possessions here, no money. That's basically when we raised the alarm.
Over the last 6 years, there's been an extensive investigation by the police and the organisation Missing People. A publicity campaign in the Midlands and across Wales has appealed for information. Any potential sightings of Natalie have been followed up, but have always been unconfirmed. She has, it seems, disappeared without a trace. Her sisters and family refuse to give up hope. They think of her every day.
Oh, that's when Natalie was born. It was taken 2 days after. She really was one of them real cute babies. Natalie not being here is, we're a trio. And we're now a twosome. And, you know, that part is missing.
6 years on, her dad still lives in Wolverhampton. He'd do anything to find out what's happened.
It's constant. You can try to put it out of your mind, but it doesn't go. You just want her to come home.
Rebecca thinks Natalie may return to South Wales. There's one place she knows her sister would want to visit.
This is my mum's grave. It's like a point of reference, really, that we could all, we all know this is mum. Do you know what I mean? So I think if Natalie was going to come look for anything, it would be on my mum's grave. Every time I visit, I leave my sister some flowers with a message, just saying to her, wherever you are, come home.
Well, she went missing 5 years ago. Her little boy is safe and well, and he's living with his dad. Joining me now are Natalie's sister, Rebecca, and also Terry from Missing People. Morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
And you still leave messages for her, don't you, at the grave?
I do, every time. Every time I go down there, leave her a message.
And what sort of things do you say to her?
I would just tell her, basically, that we still love her. We're never going to give up. And just anything, really. Just, if she was to go there, it would be if I could sit there and talk to her, it'd be things like that. I also speak silently, because, it's graveyard. So,
and you just want to know she's safe?
Absolutely.
She went just after her little boy was born. He was really tiny at the time, wasn't he? How was she coping as a mum?
She was absolutely fantastic. Amazing mother. She'd wanted him for a very long time, and I would say that she was absolutely complete.
Because some people might think, well, if she's got a young child, maybe postnatal depression might be playing a part, but you don't think that would have been the case?
Absolutely not. I mean, it was something that crossed her mind, but then after she went missing, a lot of people got involved and stuff, and they looked back and they said, no way. There was no signs of it whatsoever, and I think I would have known, and there was quite a lot of telephone communication, and I went down to see her and stuff. But every time I saw her, she just looked, every time I spoke to her, she just looked absolutely... She just sounded amazed by him.
Now, she went missing 5 years ago. Terry's done a bit of work for you and for us here as well, because obviously she might look a bit different now. So what you've done, Terry, you've taken a photo of her before she went, and what have you done with it?
Well, basically just tried to mature her face a bit. It's like an age progression, really, just to indicate how she might look today, to increase the age slightly, give her a more mature look, but obviously keep that unique features, so hopefully she's still recognisable. If anybody knows anything or recognises her, give us a call.
There is a connection or suggestion with travellers. What do you know about that?
Natalie was very interested in horses, and the weekend before she went missing, she'd been to a horse fair, which I think was connected to the travelling thing, but that it's really just the connection with the horses and the love of horses. She was quite passionate about them, and had a horse of her own.
And you and her sister, you're all very close, aren't you? So how do you feel 5 years on, still looking for her?
Devastated. It's just indescribable. You wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at night, and it's still there. She is the missing piece of the jigsaw, and we're not going to be complete until she comes back.
OK, well, thank you very much. Let's hope somebody out there knows something. Do you know where Natalie is? Have you have any information at all that could help in the search? Even if you think it might not be relevant, please pick up the phone. The number to call is on your screen right now for you.
Now, here's a happy family. This is the Stevensons on holiday in Scarborough in the 60s. Not long after this picture was taken, Liz and Olga, over here, were split up. Neither thought she would ever see the other again. But then began a series of events that, looking back, seems almost unbelievable.
The Stevenson family are from York. Olga is the eldest of 8 children. When she was 16, her baby sister Elizabeth was born.
Between myself and the youngest, there's like 16 years. So as I got older, I helped to look after the younger ones. But we went on trips and that, all together. We all looked after one another, we all played together. You were never on your own.
Olga left home and got married when she was 18. But she still saw a lot of her family, especially her mum, Eleanor.
She was lovely, she'd help anyone, and she always cooked, She never had a lot of money or anything like that, which I don't think anybody did in them days. But yeah, we had an happy childhood, all of us, I think.
But in 1970, tragedy struck.
I was 18. I was married with a little boy. And my mum had gone on a trip with my dad and they'd gone to Wales.
On the day they were due back, Olga went round to see her parents.
I actually went down to see her on the Thursday. I walked into my mum's and my sister was sat in the hearth crying, and they just said, "Has nobody been to see you?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Your mum was killed yesterday."
Olga's mum died in a car accident. The family found it difficult to cope without her.
There was 7 children at home, varying from my youngest sister Elizabeth, who was 3, to my eldest sister that was still at home, and she was 16. As time went on, my dad just couldn't cope, and the children got split up between my grandparents, my aunties and uncles, and myself.
Olga's youngest sister Elizabeth was just a toddler when her mum died.
Unfortunately, you know, as families go on, Elizabeth moved to Hull, and that's really when we lost contact.
Elizabeth grew up with their aunt, and the last time the sisters saw each other was over 20 years ago. Coming up, can a bizarre coincidence bring the sisters back together?
She said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I said, "Well, you look familiar."
And more on that story later on in the programme. Now, Bonfire Night 1993. That was the last time Jamie Cheeseman was seen in Grimsby, Lincolnshire. She's 5 feet 4 inches tall and had shoulder-length fair hair. She's originally from Wellingborough in Northamptonshire. Now, she was 16 at the time and she had moved to Grimsby with some friends in the Easter of the same year. It's thought she might have gone to Leicester or London, possibly with a travelling community. And that was nearly 16 years ago. And this is how she might look now. So if you know where Jamie is or have any information that could help to find her, then please call Missing People on 0500 700 700. There's a team standing by now to take your calls.
A bit earlier, we told you the story of Paul Reed. That's the builder from Surrey who disappeared last summer. Well, huge police searches found nothing. And then there was a lead hundreds of miles away. At heart, 46-year-old Paul Reed is a big kid, always playing pranks and joking around. For over 20 years, he's worked as a builder in his best friend's family business.
When you work with Paul, you work as a team. I suppose it's a bit like being married, you know each other inside out.
Paul's been married to Caroline for the last 16 years and has brought up her 4 children as his own.
Paul is a very fun-loving person, and when he's with the children, he's probably the biggest child.
He's especially close to his stepdaughter Louise and has always spent as much time as possible down in Devon with her and her family.
He's a cheeky guy and good fun. A lovely guy to my children, my nieces and nephews. I mean, the children absolutely adore him.
But over the last couple of years, Paul's brother died and his elderly mother had to go into a home. It all put a huge strain on his marriage. Paul and Caroline decided to separate. On the night of the 18th of July last year, Paul went to stay with his friend's son, but the next morning, he's disappeared.
I started to panic a bit when Aaron phoned me on the Saturday morning and said that 7:45 that Paul wasn't here. With that, I flew up to Aaron's place and we rang the police.
I had a phone call from Aaron to say, could I ring Paul's mobile, because he might respond to me. If he sees it's me ringing, he might respond. So I tried ringing him 3 times and it was ringing, but there was no answer.
A missing person hunt gets underway.
OK, you know your areas you're going to need clearing. Just get your dogs, go and do those areas and we'll meet back here in a couple of hours.
Surrey police focused their search on a vast area known as Devil's Punch Bowl. It's just a few minutes away from where Paul was staying. As the police continue their search, Paul's friends and family can't just sit and wait for news. They have to do something.
I contacted the police to let them know that I wanted to do a search for ourselves, because the Devil's Punch Bowl is an area that's probably less than a quarter of a mile from where Aaron's house is.
Almost 100 people from all around Hazelmere trawl through miles of Surrey woodland, but they find nothing that can be linked to Paul. Everyone close to him is in shock.
At first I was sort of angry. I'm thinking, why, you know, why do this to... And then you start to feel sorry and think, oh, crumbs, why is he gone? What's wrong with him? Where is he?
Then, 2 months after Paul's disappearance, there's a lead almost 150 miles away in Devon. A lady thinks she might have spoken to him.
One of my friends had been on holiday in Bideford and had been in this cafe, and there was a guy in there. He was having a midlife crisis, and he came from the Hazelmere area. Had lost his brother. His mum was in a home. It just sounded so much like Paul.
It seems to fit. Paul knows that area well. It's just 30 miles from where Louise, his stepdaughter, lives. Was he looking for somewhere to escape?
He loved Devon, absolutely loved Devon. I know that it was one of his dreams was to move down here.
And just months before he disappeared, Paul and his colleagues had been down in that area on a building job.
We worked in Cornwall the beginning of this year. Paul joined us on that job. It was certainly a change of scenery for us, and I think it was a change of scenery for Paul as well. He really liked the area we were working in. We all sort of enjoyed that very much.
The police investigate the possible sighting.
It just sounded so much like Paul. It was quite disheartening with the fact that it wasn't, but there's been nothing else.
8 months on, Tim and Aaron can't give up the search for their friend. They regularly go back to Devil's Punch Bowl, where his mobile signal was last traced to.
With the search that we've done and the areas that the police have covered as well with the police dogs, we're pretty convinced he's not here. So, which is a good thing. Brings back a lot of memories.
It does. That day, the start of that day was very nerve-wracking and full of fear, I suppose, fear of what we might find out here. In a way it was a relief, and in another way the search goes on and we haven't found him.
If Paul's out there, his family just want to know he's safe.
It's been quite tough at home, you know, especially with the children. I mean, keeping it from the younger children is quite difficult, having to see my mum absolutely distraught.
We loved sitting outside watching the stars. And in the summer we used to watch the shooting stars. We used to count, see who could see them the most. See little things that you miss, you know. You really, really miss it. I just very often look up to the stars and think, you know, you've got to be out there somewhere. But where?
Well, Paul's wife, Caroline, is with us now, and I know it's difficult even looking back at pictures as well. It's been really tough for you the last few months, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been very, very tough. Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster of emotions, really, over the last 8 months.
What kind of things are you doing to find him? What can you do yourselves?
Just really keeping things alive in my head. It's there all the time. We've had newspaper coverage. I'll never, ever stop searching for him, ever, until we find something.
And you were hoping, weren't you, that he might have come back at Christmas?
Yes, I just thought Christmas was going to be the time when he might think of coming home, and obviously I needed to be with the family, and all Christmas Day I just thought, just might he turn up, he would know where I'd be Christmas Day. So, but unfortunately he didn't.
Okay, if you could get a message to him, if, for example, he's watching, someone he knows is watching, what would you like to say?
Oh, please get in contact, Paul. Family, friends. There's just so many people just wanting to see him again, and it'd be just fantastic if somebody out there see this programme, or if Paul is, please contact.
And I know he's got grandchildren as well. What is it like for you all having to live in this sort of state where you don't know what's happened? It's kind of limbo, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Every day, yes, you are in limbo. The children don't cope with it very well. Every time I go down, the first thing they ask for is Papa. So it is very, very difficult.
And they even made Christmas cards for him this year, didn't they?
Yes, yes, on my grandson's, he actually wrote out a Christmas card and put date and everything, and has put that away for when Papa returns.
So if he's thinking about making a call, you'd like him just to know he's safe, would you?
Yes, absolutely. We just know if he's safe, if he doesn't want to come home, but just to know that he is safe and well.
OK, well, thank you very much for coming to talk to us, Caroline. We also got an email, actually, as well, from Paul's twin sister, from Pauline as well. And I'm just going to read that email for him if he's watching, or anybody else who knows. And please, please, let him know I love him, I'm missing him and thinking about him always. I may be 2,000 miles away in Portugal, but he's in my thoughts always. And that is from his twin sister, Pauline. So if you've seen or heard anything that can help us to find Paul, the number is on your screen now. Please do call us.
And Detective Inspector Joe Hayes is leading the search report. Joe, this happened last summer, so tell us what, from a police side, what's happened with the investigation since that time?
Extensive inquiries have been made, and as already touched on, a large amount of searching has gone on in the surrounding areas on the Surrey and Hampshire police borders, involving both police forces. Financial inquiries have also been made, and there's also a potential lead connecting Paul to the Devon and Cornwall area in England.
And you're specifically appealing to holidaymakers as well that may have been in that area at the time?
There's a potential sighting of Paul last September in 2008 in the Bideford area, and I would appeal for anyone who lives in that local community or people that were holidaying in the area to really give some thought as to whether they've seen Paul or have any information.
Well, I really hope they do, Joe. Thank you very much. We're very short of time, but we could talk about this for a lot longer, and I really hope you get some good positive results. Once again, that number to call if you do have information is on your screen right now.
Now, let's take you back to the story of the sisters, Liz and Olga, who lost contact decades ago. They're about to get a little bit of help from the internet.
The Stevensons are from York. Olga is the eldest. Elizabeth is the youngest of 8 children. When their mother was killed in a car accident, the tragedy split the family.
Unfortunately, Elizabeth moved to Hull, and that's really when we lost contact.
The sisters have not seen each other for decades. Elizabeth is now a busy mum, living back in York. Just a year ago, a bizarre coincidence was to bring the sisters back together.
My daughter decided she'd got this dance mat and she didn't want it anymore. So I thought, right, she doesn't want it, maybe somebody else will get a use out of it.
Elizabeth decided to sell the dance mat on the internet.
I decided that I needed to lose some weight. So I thought, a dance mat. So I started looking and someone put an advert on.
I got an email from an Olga. Something clicked, obviously, with the name, but didn't think anything of it.
I got a reply back saying, yeah, it's yours. Oh, great.
So she came over. I opened the door and knew who it was straight away.
And she said, you don't know who I am, do you? And I said, well, you look familiar.
I said, I should do, I'm your sister. Well, with that's it. We just went into each other's arms.
Being reunited with Olga has given Elizabeth the chance to find out about the mum she never knew.
She can tell me things about my family that I didn't know. I've finally seen photographs that, because I only ever had the one photograph of Mum, and I've seen photographs of myself when I was little. So it's nice catching up that way and finding out what's happened.
And these kids have such luxurious lives now. Yeah. It's just something that doesn't happen. It's just unbelievable, you know, that you can be, you know, separated for that long and then, you know, just by coincidence. I mean, she could have offered the dance mat to anyone.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted to say Liz and Olga are here with us, and also that kind of now famous dance mat.
Yeah.
Liz, why did you choose to sell it to Olga?
Well, it was just my daughter wanted rid of it, so out it went.
And it was you who realised when she turned up on the door?
Yeah.
What was it? What did you think?
I just looked at her and said, "You don't recognise me, do you?" And she went, "You look familiar." I said, "Yeah, I'm your sister."
It must have been an amazing feeling.
Oh, it was, yeah. I just couldn't believe it. We hadn't seen each other for over 20 years.
Excellent. Now, you two are obviously reunited. You're looking, I understand, for another sister. Tell us about her. Who is she?
It's Margaret. It's not my next sister to me, but another one below that.
Right.
She goes by Maggie. She's never been known as Margaret. And she moved out of York about 8 years ago, and we've just lost contact.
And she'd be how old now, then? More or less?
Round about 52.
Right, so if there's a 52-year-old who thinks she is your sister's, we'd really like her to get in touch.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much. What an incredible story. I'm so glad it worked out for you. Good luck to you, both of you. We're almost out of time, so here's a reminder of how to get in touch, particularly if you know these two. The number is 0500 700 700. Our email is missing.live@bbc.co.uk. And also, you can write to us as well. Missing Live, PO Box 63814, London N1 1HF. We'll tell you that again tomorrow.
Just before we go, a quick update from Terry from Missing People. Come on, Terry, what's hot off the press?
Well, we've had some great stuff. Already we've got quite a few calls on Jude with a good couple of sightings there.
And she went with her daughter with a cerebral palsy, so lots of concern there, which is brilliant.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else?
Natalie Putt, who we featured already. I've just had an email to update me. We've had 5 sightings of her and quite a few
Brilliant.
calls
Another
on it
young
already.
mother she was, wasn't she? Anything else very quickly?
Paul Reed, not many calls yet, but 1 sighting already. Obviously, we'll pass that to police.
We'll pass it on to the team now. Fantastic, Terry. Excellent response. Louise.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work. We're here tomorrow at the same time when we'll be telling you the latest on all of our appeals so far. Also on tomorrow's programme, have you seen this woman, Annette Shredy? She went missing in London just 3 months ago. There are some perplexing leads and her family need your help to find her.
And how do you keep hope alive for 26 years? This is the last picture taken of Michael Bell in 1983. The very next day, he called his mum and dad from a phone box to say he was coming home, but he didn't turn up. Could you provide a vital clue in this mystery?
Thank you for your calls today. Missing People can take your calls 24 hours a day, the weekend as well. If you've been reunited with your family like Liz and Olga, please get in touch as well. We're going to be back tomorrow at 9:15. See you then.
Goodbye.